Greetings to all of you. Here I am in holiday mood. Behind me, you see a picture of Ayya Kema. This talk should be given by Ayya Sudhamma today, and she will hopefully be here in a minute. And she is prepared for today's Dhamma talk. And you just start already to breathe in and out and prepare yourself for some good Dhamma teaching. Open your hearts. Good morning, Manal. She will be here in just a few seconds, and I can continue being in my holiday mood. This might not be the totally last one, but I think Ayya Sudhamma is only going to give one more talk here for this occasion next week. So I am glad to invite for you Ayya Sudhamma Mahateri for her Wednesday afternoon talk or Wednesday morning. Hi, let it go, let it be. See you soon.
Namo Tassam Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassam Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassam Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhahan Dhamman Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Hello, folks. Good glasses. So I don't know how many of you were here when we were supposed to begin and I was nowhere to be found. Don't you love when you mess up and then you're reminded of your status? Like the way she went out of her way to say Mahateri. It's like, yeah, you too can ordain and go through all of the transformations of the holy life and all the meditation and spiritual practice to be too much of a goofball to show up on time for an obligation. You do. This is in your future. All right. So let's see. So we have Manal and Let It Go, Let It Be and Sud. And some others who have not checked in on this StreamYard commenting system. So welcome everybody. It's not that I completely forgot I was supposed to do this. It's that I completely forgot for critical period of time. From about lunch until it just somehow entered my head. Some sort of psychic power brought it into my head. Maya Palayani sitting here going, "Where are you?" So then I remember. All right, so let's decide what to do. Let's sit for a moment. Get comfy if you can. Some people might be bustling around doing things still, I understand. But if you can get settled, go ahead and do that. I'm wondering if you folks might appreciate a little intro to parts of the body. Good evening from north of Thailand. Rambo Die-Hard Warrior, truly the name of a Buddhist contemplative. Rambo Die-Hard Warrior. Okay, hi. Yeah, good evening from Thailand, dear Die-Hard. So that is what I have in mind to do. What's this?
I don't know what it is, but it is a kind of
It's a refreshment. All right, well, find out. Oh, it's neat. Oh, it's bitter.
Oh, is it good?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's odd. I could also have some water. That would be great. Is that water it is?
It's you would sparkling water.
Good. Okay.
Sparkling water is that?
No, this is good. If it's sparkling water. Okay, so let's start with sitting, and feel the body meeting whatever is holding you up: bed, bench, cushion, floor, whatever it is. Car seat, maybe. Feel that connection. If that were not there, you'd be on top of something else. If that weren't there, you might be right on the very earth. So whatever it is that's holding you up is earth for you right now. You relax into that. Feel how the body is like a tiny magnet pulling very strongly towards a very large magnet beneath. We call it gravity, but feel it. Feel your posture. You have a awareness of what your posture is, but really feel what it's like. The internal sense of it may not be exactly what the posture is. So take note of that. See if more mindfulness day in and day out in future might bring together that sense of the felt sense of where the body is and where it actually is. Look to see whether there are any signs that this body may be breathing. Is there breathing? How do you know whether there's breathing? Look for the signs.
This is really big spot.
People speak of in breathing and out breathing. See if you can tell a difference between in and out breathing. What's actually happening that you would label one way or the other way? See if there could be anything pleasant about this breathing in. See if there may be anything pleasant about the way you're breathing out. Whatever you may find that's pleasant about breathing in or breathing out, lean into that. Find pleasantness, breathing in and breathing out. All right, so we'll stop there since this is more geared at a talk than at a meditation, as I understand the assignment. You probably have heard something about studying parts of the body. May have heard of 31 parts of the body or 32 parts of the body, depending on your list. You may have some curiosity about it. You may have tried it out and found it not so useful, or maybe you have practiced with it quite a bit. Welcome to put your perspective into the comments. Maybe it'll help me gear how I address you in a way that's very helpful. The Buddha described looking inward at one's body, parts of one's body, like someone looking into a big bag of grains and beans, and you can look down, you can see these are the red beans, these are the kidney beans, these are the black beans. Maybe it's just beans. Maybe there was different kinds of rice. I don't remember. You would remember. What is it?
Different kinds of beans. These
It was
are
just
brown
beans.
These are such and such kind of beans.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. It's not actually very inspiring, is it? I want to get enlightened. I want to be free of suffering, and I'm supposed to be counting beans. Like that's why would I want to do that? Why would I want to do that? So I have no idea what. Like, I'm not from the country I'm sitting in, and I have no idea. Would you give me like some normal sparkling water out of one of those? I have no idea what they are. But I can't turn my attention to them enough to know, to find out.
This is sparkly and this is still.
Still means no sparkle. Gotcha.
Yes.
Sorry, folks. I hope somebody edits this stuff out. Do they edit this stuff out?
No, they just put it online.
Great. Great. So if I pick my nose, it's going to be there too, right?
Forever and ever. And somebody's going to make a meme out of it.
Somebody's take all of my teachings and just find the most embarrassing parts. It shouldn't be too hard. It's okay. I'll die right there when I hear about it. And then I won't have to suffer knowing about it too long. He wasn't advising to think of the body like beans for some deeper reason there, but just in terms of the clarity of it and how you actually want to differentiate between these different parts of the body in your imagination or in your felt sense as you're looking inward into your body with your mind or with your imagination. And the parts of the body have two different numbers because the commentary added the brain, but otherwise, it's just based and puts it in a particular place or not. So it's basically the same list between the 31 and the 32. And the list of the body parts are intended for us to use as a kind of a guide of moving the mind around through the body. I've been told a number of different ways actually to work with the 31 or 32 parts of the body. I find it fascinating. I have not cultivated anything approaching real skill or mastery of it. I'm just going to share something that I find really lovely and interesting, even kind of fun. And fun might seem a weird word for it when it starts off being like beans and goes downhill from there into instructions of seeing something about it that's often translated as loathsomeness. But we're not going to necessarily focus on loathsomeness, even though that has a really fun edge to it as well that you would never believe. If I get towards the end of my talk and I don't explain how loathsomeness can be fun, you remind me, because I cannot leave that one dangling. The parts are listed roughly from more solid to more liquidy. And so we start with the most visible, obvious, clear parts of the body. Hair of the head, and the hair of the body. Nails, teeth, skin. So these are what we see of each other's bodies. This is what we see of our own body when we look down or look into a mirror or feel our bodies. Most of what makes up the human body is not these 5 things. These are just the surface bits. These are like the wrapping on a Christmas present. Buddhists don't do Christmas. Sorry. Birthday? Some cultures don't do birthdays. Anyway, fancy wrapping on a present, but the real thing is inside, underneath that. One thing that we learn right from the start, with the list beginning with hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, finger and toenails, teeth, skin, is that with that just being the first 5 and most of the rest following later, what we're looking at in ourselves and each other is just literally very shallow. It's just this surface bit. That which is one's body is so much more than what people might pick up on of complexion and hairstyling and what they've done with their nails, whether their teeth are beautiful or not. And yet we have huge emphasis placed on these things. A little damage to the skin in a prominent place, and a person can be very rejected, very stressed. It's a little damage to your skin somewhere that you can hide versus somewhere that is right where people see. There's a huge difference in those two circumstances. Why? Socially. Why? Because we're looking at each other not as full, complete beings with all of our capacity for love and all of our capacity for everything, and our feelings and our potential for enlightenment. We're looking at, how's your hair? How are your teeth? Do you meet up to my standards of beauty? How unwell could that be? I knew a woman who was from a certain Buddhist country, who had been raised Buddhist, who understood Buddhist ideas to a certain degree. She was extraordinarily brilliant. She was at the top of her. She was an immigrant in my country, in America, and top of her class in some kind of grad. It was some sort of grad class in something so advanced I had no idea what it was, even though she told me more than once. And top of the class, she was absolutely gorgeous. Her hair was curly and long and dark and beautiful. Her skin was dark and just glowing, and teeth, everything. She was a very beautiful person with a very bubbly, beautiful personality. And she became pregnant with her husband. And as her body changed with the pregnancy, she confided to me that she's ugly. And I said, "You got to be kidding me. Are you really? Are you really? Like, with all of this that's going for her?" And I don't want to underemphasize that her personality is just generous and kind and um, uh, uh, lovely in every way. This is a person who's lovely in every way. And she felt ugly in her pregnancy. And I felt really sorry about that. That these ideas of beauty and ugliness of these outer forms, the show of the body, are just so shallow and so ridiculous that even a person like that, would have that kind of an insecurity. I hope we all resolve to stop giving a darn about whether we're decorating the world in some kind of fashionable way or some kind of beautifying way, with how we have the hair of our heads, bodies, our fingernails and toes, our teeth, our skin. Like, can we just sort of let that go? That it's just the outer wrapping. It's probably ingrained too deep, but it is just the outer wrapping. Okay. And then these are usually studied in these groups of 5 till you get near the end. So here are the head, here are the body, nails, teeth, skin. So muscles and bones, no muscles, tendons, bones, bone marrow, kidneys. So with with these next 4 in the list, we have muscles. So this is a real big chunk of body here. These muscles, and muscles, and then the tendons that hold the muscles to the bones, and then the bones themselves, and then the bone marrow. Bones are probably the most solid, earthy part of the body. Fair enough. Yeah. So I said it was pretty much in order of more solid to more liquidy. I'd be curious to know what other schools of Buddhism have as the list. Is it in the same order? Do you happen to know or remember? I'm looking at one of my friends here in the audience.
I think they have the lists, but I don't quite remember.
Is it different? Do you remember?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Okay. But they do have the list.
I think so.
It's pretty basic. I mean, I think the Buddha mentioned it in pretty prominent ways. So bone marrow, and then we shift into the organs, starting with the kidneys, and then so we have Hariyang, heart, and I like the onomatopoeia of that, Hadayang, like it sounds boom boom boom, Hariyang. And then the next one kind of follows that heartbeat sound with the liver, Yakanang. And then Kilomakang, which I have spent time in a Buddhist library looking up to figure out just what is Kilomakang, because I kept getting all these different English translations for Kilomakang. And so I settled on a translation. It doesn't really, it's kind of nice to have the body parts exactly right, but I think the point is more the study of them rather than getting them exactly right. So I think of it as that this next one after liver as being that covering, that membrane over the lower part, over the abdomen. But apparently, from some definitions, it looks like it could include also the pleura, the covering of the lungs, maybe even the I got somewhere the heart sac, but I don't know, that can't be right. And then yet I read somewhere else that it was diaphragm. So anyway, it is whatever it is. It's something down in there. And then we have Haryam Yakanam Kilamakang Pihakang. That's the spleen. Now we don't have a separate category for stomach and for pancreas. So I just assume, well, no, the stomach's going to be part of the other. I'm assuming that pancreas is, and spleen, that whole structure area is going to be part of the same thing. And if you don't already know where these are in your body, this is a really great thing to study. I vaguely recall there was a time when if I were to look down at the trunk of my body, I would just see the skin and the general shape and know that there's stuff in there. But now I cannot look at this trunk of the body without being aware of the locations of the various organs tucked away. And yeah, if I'm imagining your chest, your bellies, I'm going to be envisioning these various organs as well. So I think it's great to make a study of it. You can just pull up anything online. I mean, it's so easy to find these things. You can even find 3D renderings where you can move a cursor around and explore various parts of the body, and autopsies too. But don't accidentally leave one of those on your computer when you're visiting your mother, because I discovered that makes elderly mothers very upset for some reason. Yeah, don't do that. Especially an autopsy of an old lady. It was really quite unintentional. So continuing through the list, I'm not going to go through the whole list. Maybe not. Maybe I will. Maybe just not right now. I haven't decided because there's so much to talk about it, and I don't want to just go through the list in a way that uses up all the time. But okay, so let's see. We got to Harian Yakan Kilumakan Piakan Papasang. Okay, next are the lungs, and then the large intestine, small intestine, contents of the small intestine. So let's go ahead and put the stomach in with that small intestine. I haven't really thought about it very much, but I guess stomach has to go somewhere. I'm going to put it with the small intestine. So the upper part of the gastrointestinal tract after the lower part. And again, be looking at a kind of a map of the human body if you don't know exactly where these things are. And then the contents of the small intestines, then the contents of the large intestines, which is what? Okay, the contents of the large intestines is poop. You have a water reclamation project going on in there. The water is removed and sent back to the rest of the body, leaving behind the more solid parts to be evacuated, to be pooped out. So you have the liquidy parts in the upper part of the intestinal system, and then down in the colon you have, or the large intestine, you have the feces, and then finally bile, which is this little green thing underneath the liver. I'm going to pause here and going over the list because it does take a bit of time, and say that when going over the parts of the body, it's really good to not only become aware of where they are and their general shape, but their color. They have very specific colors. The exact boundaries of each of these, their function, so location, function. You might imagine how they might have an odor of this or that type as you're going through them. Color, if I haven't mentioned it, and So I'm just going to pause at this point to talk a little bit about what we might do with, studying this bag of beans that that is this body. One approach is um, just getting to know them, being aware of them, being aware how the body is made up of these smaller parts. And these smaller parts are made up of smaller parts yet again. And every one of these smaller parts has instability to it. So you can use this for some insight into the changing nature of the body. And then you have all the benefits of that. Kind of like a shock absorber, like when things change in some dramatic way with the body, it's not as big of a shock because you are aware that the body is made up of these organs. The organs are made up of smaller stuff, which is made up of smaller stuff. Every tiny bit of it changing, unstable. So it's not as surprising if something goes wrong. So it can help to survive emotionally anything that goes on with your body. If you're developing this awareness of your body, then you can deliberately enhance it by studying others' bodies, or you can use the study of others' bodies directly to help cultivate an understanding of impermanence of these other people. If you just sit down and try to say, my loved one so-and-so is impermanent, it's like pulling a rubber band too hard. It can snap back and hurt. If I try to think of so-and-so as a solid being and then say so-and-so is impermanent, it can become extremely painful. And the attachment, the sense of wanting to grab onto them may become stronger from the effort rather than loosened up, to have some relief from one's grasping and wish to control and so forth. But if you kind of go indirectly, studying your own organs, your own body parts, and then looking over at them, knowing they have the same ones, and they have all of these smaller bits that are made up of smaller bits, all of it unstable, then you can gently introduce to your own mind the idea of impermanence of your own body and their body, so that there can be less grasping. And so that's one benefit. Another benefit is that when a person is a bit overcome with lustful habits, habits of mind of zeroing in on aspects of one's own body or some other body or bodies that triggers lust. Lust is not really seen as all that great a thing in Buddhist teachings. It's kind of an intensification of desire that is sort of at the root, or is at the root of pain. And I know it doesn't seem like it because it can be, anything that we desire from ice cream to whatever can have these immediate payoffs, these benefits. But when we see the nature of desire, how it stirs up the mind, how we can get into a state of pain that then is relieved by trying to get something that we had wanted. We can see right in the moment how desire hurts, and with lust, it's kind of desire on crack, in a way, like desire made so much more intense and focused, and often in ways that are potentially quite damaging for social relations and reputation and so forth. So a lot of times people may use this analysis of the body to see the reality beneath the pretty skin and pretty hair and whatever, and lose that, drop off, kick away that kind of, what is the word? Not bewitching, but this delusion that would enhance the state of desire. So yeah, it can be really beneficial for people who are struggling with that. And another benefit insights around it. There's probably more. They'll come back up. Another way to use study of the 32 or 31 parts of the body is to go through them, get real familiar with them. Again, the color, the location, the boundary, the function, maybe the smell, and get to where you visualize each of them pretty well, and then pay attention which ones are not easy to see and drop them from the list. Then keep going through the body parts. Again, notice which ones are less easy to see, drop them. Drop till you end up with just a few body parts that you're seeing the color very well, you're seeing everything about them very well, and then meditate on that body parts. Choose one of them that's really good and meditate on that. So now you've got some body part that you're able to zero in on quite well, and you can use that for samadhi. I've been told that it's particularly, often particularly the case that a person would zero in on the color. There's another route for samadhi with this practice. I would never, ever, ever have believed true if somebody hadn't kind of proven it a teacher hadn't proven it on a retreat. And that is to look at the loathsomeness. This is that loathsomeness business. When you read the commentaries on this, there's this glee, this kind of, yeah, this is really disgusting attitude that's, if you don't know where it's coming from, it can seem pretty creepy, frankly. Sure hit me as creepy at first. What's with these Buddhists with their, with this, yeah, you know, you see the disgustingness and repulsiveness and, you know, the ick and gore of the body. Well, it turns out that if you can really delve into the ick factors of the body and raise them up really, really, really strong, you can get samadhi off of that. It's, you go through the various ick parts of the body and find something that's really particularly icky. I remember, so my teacher I was working with told me to, you know, come up with some, I don't remember how she put it. I don't want to put unskilled words into her mouth, but I'm going to say to the effect of, you know, find what's most icky. And so I gave her some examples of some serious ick. And one of them being imagining taking my colon and holding it up over my head while wearing good clothing and trying not to get dirty. And she said very solemnly, "That's disgusting." Well, then you work with the ick. And at some point, the ick becomes so strong, so overwhelming, that the mind flips and goes into bliss. And I think this is where we get the that kind of glee that seems a little bit sadistic in the commentaries, because they knew that if you really, really get into this business of the loathsomeness, it's not that you end up hating yourself so much that you become some sort of superior self-hating being. It's that you can actually get really high in meditation from this and develop deep meditation off of it. Glad to have solved that puzzle for you. If you were indeed noticing it already and puzzled by it. So what else was there to do with the 32 parts? So basic insight, impermanence, non-self, overcoming lust, overcoming pride. There's something called, the Buddha called the pride of youth and pride of help. And if we do not understand the real nature of the body, then we may think the body is this way, it's functional in these ways, it will always be just like that. When a person is young and has not had any serious physical setbacks, it's very natural to believe my body has it like this. My body is strong. Other people's bodies get weak, but mine does not. Other people's bodies get tired, fatigued, twist ankles, get cancer and so forth, but mine does not. So if we're having this kind of practice of looking clearly into what is this body, it's harder to lie to ourselves about it. And it's an intoxication. It's not just the pride, it's the intoxication of youth, the intoxication of health. And what do people do when they're intoxicated? Things that are not in their best interest. They would do if they were truly clear-minded and sober in that way. Intoxicated in a metaphorical sense, not literally, but in the sense of heedlessness. I remember a woman was talking about her teenage daughter, saying that she was so beautiful and so perfect and was doing everything, and that her daughter was doing everything she could to wreck her body as fast as possible. She was very sad, for her daughter being like that, but was also recognizing that, the limits of her position. She couldn't force her teenage daughter to have wisdom, and to the impermanent nature of this, of her at that moment, very strong young body. Any other benefit jump to mind? Okay, well, it'll probably come back. Now, when I introduce 32 parts of the body to people who haven't worked with this before, well, let me back up. I usually am teaching American people. Sometimes people come on online from far away, but usually people right in front of me are going to be American. And something I discovered pretty quick is that Americans have not a very happy relationship with their bodies. Maybe that's true of some people, even in this country where I'm sitting. And there can be a lot of pain, emotional pain, a lot of self-hate, a lot of ill will towards the body. So when the Buddha was teaching about the seeing the downsides of the body to where we're able and ready and willing to let go, I like to think of it as the Buddha seeing the people in front of him out of balance in one way, probably with too much attachment and affection for their bodies. But the people I teach tend to be out of balance in another way. So if somebody is going down the road and they're about to go into the ditch on the left, then I say pointing right. That must have been confusing to look at. They're about to go into the ditch on the left. Then someone who loves them will call out, go right, to get them safely into the middle. And if the other way, then they'll tell them to yell at them to go left. So it's not a matter of there's an absolute that what you need to do is come to disregard and dislike this body, but that what we need to do is find that place of balance and peace and non-aversion, non-grasping, but clarity about the nature of the body. So start where we're at and kind of lean the other direction, which means that when I teach 32 parts of the body in a meditative state, I make everybody love each body part. I have them send loving, friendly, well-wishing towards every body part. And it can bring up some interesting stuff. The intensity with which people have some self-hate can be quite strong, quite dramatic. And I have seen people dissolve into tears doing these parts of the body reflection or meditation, sending the well-wishing to each body part. And then sometimes I add something that really puts them over the top into tapping into and releasing pain. which is point out that anywhere that they've had any injuries, to linger there and send special well-wishing there and ask for forgiveness for having had ill will towards that body part, for having been painful. And make them send love to the body part that has been hurting. Make the hurting even right then. That, oh, tears. Tears sometimes. Send love and ask for forgiveness for the hate. Sorry, knees, that I hated you so much just because I thought you were out to get me, but I realized that you were doing the best you could, just trying to keep going and do what I asked of you. And I'm really sorry I was mean to you, and I wish you well. You know, something like that. My knees are okay. I was just using that as an example. Those are not, the knees aren't specially listed as body parts, but there's I just remembered another use of the third of the list of body parts, which is to choose something of a color that you want to work with, and use it for the color. And the bones can be particularly good for that, for white color, or maybe the liver for red, and so forth. Some people just like to study the bones and just hang out with the bones. And there is some precedent for this. I think it's in the commentary, where a monk was walking down the road, very kind of deserted forest path between villages. And a woman came up towards him, and she gave him a kind of a sneering smile, which would have looked extremely sexy. And they passed on by. I mean, they're the only ones. Anything could have happened between them. And so her giving him a very provocative look was a very strong experience. But he had been focusing on bones. And the teeth are a separate category, but they are very close to bones. And so when she smiled, his mind, conditioned from so much meditation, so much focus on bones, went straight to the white teeth. And he became an arhat on the spot. He didn't react to the sexually charged moment. He just zeroed in on those teeth, and I don't know what aspect of impermanence or non-self or suffering. I don't know what hit him, but he made an enormous leap in that moment. Before long, the woman had fought with her husband, so she was in a very very contrary state of mind. That's why she did that to the holy man on the road, giving him that sneering, kind of hypersexualized smile, because she was very angry with her husband. Well, he caught up, and he asked the monk, "Have you seen a beautiful woman go this way?" And all the monk could say, I don't know, but I saw a pair of teeth. I saw a set of teeth. So that became a famous story of the monk who had not seen the beautiful woman. All he had seen was the teeth. Playing around with the bones. I went to a retreat one time, a day-long retreat, where the monk had us focusing on the bones the whole time. And he would say, "Okay, go do walking meditation. Get up and take your bones for a walk." We were just feeling the bones and being with the bones. It was really a lot of fun. Sometimes I've sat and done meditation, really imagining these bones. When I got to the skull, I discovered that the inside of the skull was really interesting. And like just hanging out, imagining the inside of the skull as though I'm standing there going, "Oh, look, feel that." and I didn't really pursue it, but it seemed like that skull itself could have been very useful for a deeper meditation. Let's look at some questions we have in the chat. Okay, I didn't understand that one, so I'm going to skip it. Oh, I see. Okay, I'm going to skip that again. I I had some dental work that took away my pretty smile. Buck teeth. Sadly, the church minister I spoke to about my sadness over it basically said, get over it. What would have been more helpful in the Buddhist way of thinking? I felt my smile reflected what was inside before the change. Buck teeth are normally considered not beautiful, and so having removed buck teeth has me a little confused. But I'll take it to mean that some dental work was necessary that left the teeth in a different state that was not as beautiful, and there was sadness over it. And somebody said, "Oh, just get over it." You know, people have different strengths and weaknesses, and there are really people in this world who are kind of their basic outlook is kind of equanimous, and so when they say, "Well, just get over it," they may be pulling on their own ability to see downsides of useless ways of thinking and being, and say, "Yeah, just stop, just let go." Just see the downsides and let go, and it works for them. I'm basically a hater. Like my natural inclination throughout this life has been to hate first and ask questions later. And so the rage that I have felt at equanimity people, if there's balanced, even-minded people who can say, it's not worth it, let it go, has been plenty. It was a long time in Buddhism before I realized that the equanimity people who would say, just let it go, weren't actually deliberately being mean. I thought they were deliberately being jerks. And I really resented it. Never say, just let it go to me. Don't do that. I'll have to stop and think for a minute before I remember that you have a good intention, you equanimity people. So I'm going to trust that the church minister had a good intention, probably had that ability. Some good religious people have managed to let go of a lot of negative traits by trusting their God, and so they kind of have that ability to just see downsides and let go. And so he was probably trying his best with what had worked for him. So I'm not going to judge that. But the Buddhist way of thinking about it, about having had that change, would be to remember that once you're a skeleton, you're not going to care very much. I'm joking. I'm not really joking. I'm kind of joking. The teeth that you lost were impermanent, and so are the rest of your teeth, and the jaw, and the face, and the skin, and the hair, and the nails, hair of the head, hair of the body, nails, teeth, skin, and the whole thing. It's all impermanent, and losing of that ability. I think I don't know your culture. I don't know, where you stand with in your life, and what power you are given by class, by gender, whatever. But having an attractive smile is power for a lot of people, and it is a way of gaining, what you want, gaining even friendships, gaining approval. People who look less attractive are actually more likely to go to jail, according to some study I saw a long time ago. And so the actual tangible, measurable loss of a factor of beauty is not nothing. It's a real thing, and depending in great part on what other factors of power and privilege you may or may not have. And so that's a real loss, and yeah, you can grieve that. I mean, that's a real loss. You lost something that was significant to you. And then further with that, you felt like you lost some ability to communicate, and that's really quite sad. I think there are a number of ways to address that. Again, as I was mentioning, study the bigger picture of impermanence. It's just the teeth that you have this time. Do some religious pujas and wish for better teeth next time. Or see what you can do to not have to have too many more rebirths in which you might lose teeth again. You could think that in many, many lives, you've lost many, many teeth. You've probably had some lives in which you couldn't even get good nutrition because, the chewing teeth, the back teeth were too damaged. You can think of how there are people all over the world who've had this problem, who've lost teeth, who've lost beauty in various ways, who've lost social power in various ways. Their loss of social power could have led to poverty, even death. Have mercy, have pity, have compassion for people who have some similar loss, but so much more so. And let that compassion rise up and take over your heart instead of that sense of poor me. Because poor me isn't going to really lead you anywhere you want to go. You can look at what you're doing, look at the result, and work with the cause. Work with cause and effect. What am I doing? What are the results? Is it wholesome? Is it unwholesome? And take a better direction. If I sat around thinking my teeth used to be this, now they're this, it's going to be embarrassing, hurtful. It could be even quite devastating. You might want to walk around like this all the time or never smile again. I met a woman who would never smile, and I teased her about it until she showed me her teeth. And the reason she never smiled is that she was addicted to drugs, and she would lie about tooth pain and get a corrupted dentist to pull teeth so that she could get a prescription for the painkillers and misuse it. And she was very ashamed of the damage to her teeth, because the damage to her teeth was a visible mark of the addiction she was trying to overcome. And my heart just broke for her, absolutely broke. So you can think, well, at least it's not that, right? And have thoughts of mercy, compassion, kindness to people who do. If you can ever find a wholesome state out of any topic, pursue that. Put your attention onto the topic in such a way that you raise up wholesomeness, and you've overcome the problem in that moment. That's the only question I have there. Thank you, Let It Go, Let It Be, for your question. Is that a smiley face? With teeth, let it go, let it be, put an emoticon with big teeth grin. Mm-hmm. Good on you. I'm very proud of you, frankly. Dear Let It Go, Let It Be. Any questions from anyone sitting here? Any thoughts that we could use for the last couple of minutes? Well, look up the 31 or 32 parts of the body on Wikipedia. There are good Buddhist people combing Wikipedia constantly, apparently, because I rarely find something wrong regarding Theravada Buddhism, or clearly wrong on Wikipedia. So people seem to be doing a pretty good job there. So you should be able to find it, find the list. I think I'm going to leave you with reciting the way I learned the Pali language on this. I don't know if I have time for the whole thing, but I'll go over just a bit so that you can get the tune, and then you can use it to help you memorize it in Pali. It's kind of fun to have it in Pali and in your own language, and use that when you're going through these reflections. So again, here are the head, here are the body, nails, teeth, skin. So the heart, liver, pleura, that covering, the spleen, and wait, what did I just do?
Muscles, tendons.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got confused. Okay, sorry. Mangsang naru ati ati minjang vakam is muscles, tendons, bones, bone marrow, kidneys. Hari yang yakananki lomakang pihakam papasang. Heart, liver, pleura, spleen, lungs. Antang andangunang utariyang karisang pitang. Large intestine, small intestine, contents of small intestine, feces, and bile. Just one little note. Bile is kind of fun. You can try this. Like if you can find the idea of bile, this kind of like a little green thing under the liver, and then take a deep breath. Sometimes the exhale is hot because bile is hot. like in this phrase of expressing your bile on somebody, meaning to express your anger, the heat. And it's kind of hot. Well, anyway, it's kind of fun if you can find that up and take a breath and exhale while thinking of the bile, putting your attention there, see if some heat comes up. Okay, let's see. Antan. Asu. No, it's the last one. Semhang pubo lohitang zero mero. So semhang is like a mucus that you can find throughout the body. Semhang pubo is pus, which they would have seen at wounds, but now we know to be part of the lymph node system. And having been being a survivor of lymph node cancer, I'm very aware of my lymph nodes as a thing. So I like to think of the whole lymph system rather than, just pus that would come at a wound. Semhang pubo lohitang, blood. Blood is a real fascinating one to try to track through the body. That can be really fun, especially with the color so clear. Lohitang sedo, sweat. Medo, fat. Asuvasa kelo singhanika lasika mutang, and if you add the brain, madike madalunganti. So this was kind of interesting. This last bit, I like to think about it around the face. So asu, tears, vasa, oil, and if you might remember teenagehood, maybe you had a lot of oil here. So think of the oil of the body right here. So asu, tears, vasa, oil, kelo, spit, singhanika, the snot up in your sinuses, lasika, the oil of the joints, and mutang, pee, and then marige madalungan is brain. And so you can see how these very last ones are very liquid, and they are things that you might not tend to think of as you, and the way you might think of your hair as you. So this can be such a great study. This is another purpose, and a great study in non-self. Because when you look at another person, so I'm looking at Rakita right there, I don't think of, yes, this person has oil in the joints. Yeah, or look at a person over here and say, yeah, that person probably has, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 ounces of urine in them right now. If you do that, that's a little weird, actually. But if you do that, it can be very interesting for letting go. Another interesting use, I know I'm over time, sorry, folks. Another interesting use of the whole practice is, let's say you're angry at somebody. I'm really mad at you, Sayale. I'm so angry. Okay, I'm furious at you. And then I can say to myself, am I furious with the ribs? Am I furious with the bones? Am I furious with the liver? Am I furious with her? Am I furious with her teeth? No, there's no one part of the body that I'm furious with. I'm furious with the imagined package of the person. Right there, see, right? But I wouldn't be furious with you. But if I were furious, I would be furious with an imagined package of being. But what is that? That's just my delusion, kind of projected onto what I can see and imagine of her body. So that's a way of getting rid of anger, using these third two parts that can also be used for that, for insight into anatta, and also an insight into anatta in such a way that helps let go of anger, irritability. So I think that's more than enough because we are over time. No one is humoring me with any more questions, so we'll call it a close now.